Turning 60 isn't just a number, it's a crossroad where life lessons crystallize into wisdom gained from decades of experiences, failures, successes, love, loss, change, and reflection. By the age of 60, your perspective on life shifts dramatically. Not because you're forced to, but because you finally understand what really matters and what simply doesn't. Life has a subtle yet unforgiving way of educating us, and after 60, you begin to see the curriculum clearly. The first lesson life impresses upon you is patience. After 60, you realize that everything in life has a time and place. Whether it's waiting for the right opportunity, watching your children find their path, or dealing with health issues, patience becomes not just a virtue but a survival strategy. You learn that rushing doesn't change the result, it only increases anxiety. The art of waiting gracefully becomes a mastery. On the journey to long-term fulfillment, patience is the currency of maturity. Another lesson is acceptance. You stop trying to change people. You recognize that everyone is evolving on their own timeline, and trying to mold them to your vision is futile. You begin to focus inward and work on the one person you can control, yourself. Acceptance also applies to the past. You stop reliving mistakes or fantasizing about alternate outcomes. What happened, happened. Now you live with a peaceful detachment. Letting go becomes easier, not because you don't care, but because you understand the cost of holding on. At 60, health takes center stage. You start listening to your body more. You realize that energy is not infinite, and youth doesn't last forever. That midnight meal or all-nighter now has consequences. You become more selective with what you consume, both physically and emotionally. Toxic people, junk food, negative media, they all take a toll. The body becomes a temple, not just in metaphor, but in everyday practice. You learn to appreciate mobility, breath, digestion, and even sleep. The smallest blessings are no longer taken for granted. Relationships also evolve. You no longer chase shallow friendships or waste time on people who drain your energy. You understand that quality beats quantity. A few loyal friends, a supportive partner, or the company of your children means more than 100 acquaintances. You prioritize depth. Conversations become more meaningful. Silence becomes comfortable. Solitude becomes nourishing. Loneliness doesn't scare you like it used to. You learn that being alone and being lonely are not the same. Time becomes your most valuable currency. You start spending it wisely. You stop saying yes to every invitation or project. You learn the power of saying no without guilt. You become intentional with your hours. Each moment feels like an investment. You plan your day not just for productivity but for peace. Slow mornings, evening walks, quiet reading sessions, all gain importance. You become less reactive and more reflective. Emotions are managed with grace. Anger doesn't erupt like it once did. Instead, you understand its roots and allow it to pass. Forgiveness becomes less about others and more about freeing yourself. Grudges feel heavy, peace feels light. You choose peace. You see failure differently. What once felt like devastation now appears as redirection. You appreciate the role of setbacks in shaping your story. You stop fearing failure because you realize you've survived all your worst days already. Experience becomes a comforting armor. You trust your instincts. You don't seek constant validation. You know who you are. You know what you've overcome. Confidence is quiet now. It doesn't need to announce itself. You become a student of life again. Curiosity returns in a gentle, humble way. You may pick up painting, learn a language, travel more, or finally read those classics. Learning is no longer about achievement but about enrichment. You understand that the brain, like the body, needs nourishment and exercise. You become your own teacher. Legacy begins to matter. You think about what you're leaving behind. Not just assets or memories, but the impact you've had. Did you help others? Did you raise kind children? Did you make people feel seen and loved? These questions matter more than titles or trophies. Simplicity becomes attractive. You declutter, not just your home, but your life. You let go of the unnecessary. Drama, excess, comparisons, they lose their appeal. You find beauty in minimalism. A morning cup of tea, birdsong at dusk, the smile of a grandchild, these are your new treasures. Gratitude becomes a daily ritual. You count your blessings not because life is perfect but because you see it clearly now. The lens of age reveals what you overlooked before. Sunsets are no longer routine, they're sacred. You become more spiritual. Maybe not in the religious sense, but in how you relate to the universe. You sense a bigger picture, a deeper meaning. You trust life's timing. Faith replaces fear. Peace becomes your compass. You recognize the fragility of life. You see friends pass, loved ones age, and health decline. Death is no longer an abstract idea, it's a visible truth. But rather than fear it, you use it as fuel to live better. Every day feels like a bonus. Joy is found in the little things. You laugh more, worry less. You learn that happiness isn't something you chase, it's something you choose. It lives in presence, not perfection. You embrace impermanence. You stop clinging. You watch seasons change, hair turn gray, skin wrinkle, and you smile. These are signs of life lived, not life lost. There's beauty in aging. There's freedom in surrender. You don't compete anymore. You celebrate others. You encourage the younger generation. You share your stories not to boast but to guide. Wisdom isn't about knowing everything, it's about understanding what truly matters. You see the ego for what it is, a mask that kept you busy, not happy. You take it off and feel lighter. You become more forgiving of your younger self. You stop criticizing your past mistakes. You recognize that you were learning. You were growing. And that journey is sacred. You no longer seek applause, you seek authenticity. You want real over impressive. Honest over polished. Deep over trendy. You realize that life is not a race but a rhythm. You start dancing to your own beat. You honor your boundaries. You no longer tolerate what disturbs your peace. You value comfort, not in the lazy sense, but in the soul sense. You protect your joy. You become more present. You look people in the eye. You listen without planning your reply. You observe the world with childlike wonder. You notice flowers blooming, clouds drifting, time passing. You become both softer and stronger. You know when to speak and when to stay silent. You choose your battles wisely. Most aren't worth the energy. Peace wins. You forgive more easily. Not because people always deserve it, but because you deserve freedom. You no longer seek revenge or drama. You outgrow the noise. Life teaches you that some people will never understand you, and that's okay. You stop explaining yourself. You stop shrinking to fit into spaces that don't see your worth. You expand. You become the elder you once looked up to. You carry stories, scars, wisdom, and grace. You know that love, real love, is the only thing that survives the storms of time. You cherish those who stayed. You honor those who left. You find joy in giving more than receiving. You see life as a cycle. You understand that everything comes and goes, pain, pleasure, success, struggle. Nothing stays. That's what makes it all so precious. You embrace the now, knowing it's all you really have. You start measuring your life not by years but by moments that moved you the most, the laughter around a dinner table, the look in a grandchild's eyes, the peace after a long walk alone, the satisfaction of watching someone grow because of your guidance. You realize that success was never about wealth or status, it was about how deeply you loved, how honestly you lived, and how peacefully you slept at night. Your regrets become teachers, not burdens. You make peace with your past relationships, the ones that failed, the ones that hurt, and even the ones that broke you. You see them now as stepping stones to your emotional maturity. You understand that forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. You grow more grateful for your parents, even if they were imperfect. You see now what they went through, what they sacrificed, what they misunderstood, and how they loved you in the best way they knew how. You soften. You grow kinder, to others, and to yourself. You laugh more freely, sometimes even at yourself. You no longer feel the need to prove anything. You simply are. And that is enough. You appreciate the value of stillness. You stop filling every silence with noise. You sit with your thoughts. You meditate. You pray. You connect with something greater. Whether you call it God, the universe, or simply inner peace, you feel it more deeply than ever before. You become a vessel for calm. You prioritize mental peace over mental stimulation. You stop being addicted to the next big thing. You cherish what you already have. You declutter your emotional life too. You stop carrying the weight of everyone else's expectations. You finally understand the difference between responsibility and rescue. You help when you can, but you no longer lose yourself trying to save others. You respect other people's journeys, even if they look chaotic or unwise to you. You recognize the importance of boundaries. You learn to say no with love. You stop overcommitting. You start doing things that energize rather than exhaust you. You spend more time in nature. The earth speaks to you in ways it never did before. A quiet forest, a flowing stream, a mountain breeze, these become your sanctuary. You reconnect with your inner child. You laugh, dance, sing, paint, even if you're not good at it. You allow joy to enter your life without a purpose. You do things just because they make your heart light. You stop needing permission to be happy. You treasure conversations with elders. You seek their stories and understand that wisdom lives in wrinkles and weary eyes. You feel proud of your own age and what it represents. Each year added to your life adds layers to your soul. You become a mentor, a guide, a witness to life. You start thinking less about what you want and more about what you can give. You become more generous, with your time, your words, your presence. You stop hoarding experiences. You share them. You write letters, you journal, you speak truth, you